need to.
That's exciting.
I need to.
I didn't rate myself in a couple.
Where's my whistle? What got me into music? Probably my dad. I remember growing up, being a little youngin, with him blasting music in the car when I was a baby. So he was probably the main reason I got into music, specifically metal. But older metal like Alice Cooper, Metallica, Motley Crue, stuff like that. So that's what I kind of grew up on. So yeah, my dad, pretty much. It's always a good question to ask, and I never feel like I answer it correctly because it really depends on the day and the mood. But I mean, just 80s metal in general, I think, got me into drums specifically. That's probably a different question, but as far as influence that way, just that constant kick drum, like solid beat going down or whatever. Influences. I mean, I know it's cliche to say. I guess it's not really cliche because I was young when I listened to it. I was like 15, but Avenged Sevenfold was probably one of my biggest influences to play the drums too. But they were the first metal band I guess I listened to when I was a kid. So I guess from there I kind of moved up and down. Linkin Park too actually was a big influence of mine. It depends. It really does depend on the show. Our last show because we didn't play in a couple months. So the first time I felt nervous to play in a while. Well, when I'm playing at home by myself, I kind of just sit there and diddle around a little bit and kind of just play random patterns. I don't really sit there and practice rudiments or stuff like that per se, which I do sometimes, but I don't do that. I should probably do that more, but I don't. Don't tell anyone. But I just kind of sit there and just kind of play whatever I'm feeling at the moment, and I'll sit there and I'll hit the toms randomly, I'll hit the snare randomly, I'll hit cymbals randomly. I'll just kind of play patterns according to however I'm feeling at the moment. When I'm by myself, I do that, but then when we're at practice, it will be more, I actually play off of Steve's riffs more than Gary's. So a lot of the stuff I come up with during practice is when Steve goes and just kind of diddles with stuff, and I play off of him. The bottom end, Before I go on, I'm really nervous because I'm very anal about things going wrong. So if a cymbal stand is a quarter of an inch off, or my kick pedal is a quarter of an inch off, anything's off in any way whatsoever, I get really nervous about that. So especially playing on other people's kits, the tom setup could be different. That freaks me out. But once I sit there and I'm ready to go and the music starts, I love it. I feel like I'm in a whole other world. Like that is 150% my element there. I feel, that's where I feel like I belong, It's a good feeling. It's a great feeling. I always say that I wish I was in my 20s in the 80s because I feel like I would have had a better chance back then. It was more difficult to get heard and found, but also less saturated. I feel like the biggest letdown right now is that maybe it's easier to get your stuff out there on YouTube and be self-made per se, but it's just so oversaturated. Like it's hard to get yourself in there just because there's so much of a lot of the same stuff too. So that's another thing. It's harder to be different when there's just so much going on at once. And yeah, just the fact that it's hard to really make it anymore. Nobody really makes it anymore. It's just kind of like how good you are at taking yourself where you want to go instead of someone backing you and supporting you. So that's a big letdown. It's not as common for people to really go to shows anymore either. It's more like a festival type thing anymore. People will save up to go to festivals. I remember when I was in high school, like that's what we did. We just went to shows all the time, 24/7, and that was the thing. Like that doesn't really exist anymore. So I feel like it's harder that way to really move forward too. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a high playing in itself with the lights on you and you dress up. I love to dress up and put on my makeup and do my hair and just Like you get to be kind of a different person than you are in everyday life. I love that part of it. And then just sitting behind those drums and looking out at everybody, just everybody's all eyes are on you. And, you know, it's scary because, you know, if you make a mistake, people are going to most likely notice, you know, well, a train wreck definitely, but maybe not a little thing. But there's very few times in life you really get to be the star of the show, a rock star, and people really like you for what you're doing kind of thing. You know, you go to work every day and nobody really says, oh, you know, good job for doing all that paperwork. But as a musician, it's so awesome to have people come up to you and say, hey, that song was awesome, your band is awesome, like what you did was awesome. Like it's I can see why people get addicted to that feeling, because it's nice to have that affirmation, I guess is what you would call it. But yeah, love that. Feels good. I guess crowd turnout is definitely a big thing. It's always hit or miss. You can think a show is going to be great. You know, Facebook will event page or whatever will say 200 people going, and then you get there and there's 2 people. You play the bartender and some other drunk guy who just randomly happens to be there. So you get excited and pumped up and ready to go, and you're playing to 2 people. It sucks. You still have to play, you know, your heart out. You still have to, because you don't know, you might gain one more fan. But I think turnout's probably the biggest thing that can be a disappointment for you. Other than that, it sucks, you know, how much money and time we put into it. We don't really get paid correctly. I believe some shows we get paid great, and it's just like, wow, I didn't, you know, we made that much tonight. And then other nights it's like, oh, here's $10. You know, that's definitely a disappointment, especially if it's a packed show and you only get $10. Like that's like a slap in the face. So kind of have to not think of it as a hobby, but I don't know. Yeah. The worst show I ever played was in my last band in Cause of Affliction, and we had a couple of doozies, but probably the worst show I ever played was we drove 5 hours to Pittsburgh to literally play at a bowling alley. And at first we're like, oh, this is great, we're playing at a bowling alley, it's really neat. We literally played in the middle of the lanes. Like they had a like platform stage set up in the middle of the bowling lanes, and they had like the black lights on and everything. We're like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. We drove there 5 hours. There was no one there, not one person. The only people that showed up were like people that were coming to bowl. So it's us and Threat Point. We're playing 2 metal bands playing in a bowling alley that no one even knew they were coming to see. So there's like people who don't like metal. Clearly they did not like metal. They were literally just sitting there laughing at us the whole time while we played. So we had to drive 5 hours, not get paid, get laughed at while playing, then drive 5 hours home. All in one. That was definitely the worst show we ever played. But we've played a lot of shows to literally just the bartender. Those suck too. So, but the bowling alley one to me was probably the worst. Yeah. Honestly, I've played a lot of really good shows. The best one, I don't know. I mean, when we opened up for Queensryche, the timing was kind of bad because we were still kind of new, so we didn't have any albums out or anything. So I wish we had more to present of ourselves at that time, but that show was packed, and we had a lot of really great feedback. A lot of people wanted CDs and stuff. We didn't have anything. El Nino, we opened up for them. That was another slam-packed show. It was really great. I've literally played, I'm not even kidding, thousands of shows, easily. When we did the tour in my old band with Cause of Affliction, the Project Independent tour, every show on that one was pretty much a great time. Got to travel, do the tour thing. I don't know, that's a really hard one. I could probably name a bunch of really, really good shows, but that's a whole other interview in itself. I guess stuff that kind of, nothing really crazy embarrassing, but stuff that pissed me off happened, like things would break, like a pedal of mine would break, or a cymbal would fall down, and then I would get angry and probably embarrass myself because I look like I'm angry. You can tell when I'm angry because I don't hide it well. But I've never had anything crazy like, I don't know, a boob popping out or something. I kind of wish I did. That'd be a good story to tell. I did actually, I did have a corset on the one time and a button did pop off, so like my boobs were kind of hanging out, but they're not too big, so they didn't fall out of my bra, but they were definitely hanging out. I might have gained some more fans that way though, so. Other than that, nothing too crazy. That was a good time though, yeah. I mean, it's really hard to get so many women at all times. It's just so hard to say no to them all. I'm just kidding. They're just flocking all over me. So it's hard to sign all those boobs. What do I struggle with the most being in a band? I think the hardest thing for me is not being where I'd like to be in a band. I'd like to at least be able to make enough money that I can at least support my hobby. Like, okay, I need new cymbals. Okay, take that out of the band fund. Here you go. That would be amazing to be able to do that. So it kind of sucks that thinking about the amount of money that I've spent in both the bands I've been in, we never took any of the money for ourselves. We always put the money right back into the band fund. So whatever money we got, we put into merch or whatever we needed. So it would be nice to get paid per se to be able to do it. That would be nice, but maybe someday. We'll see. Right now it's not as hard because the world is stopped right now, so I don't really have to worry about going around like crazy. We just kind of, practice one day a week and do shows on weekends when we can. Right now, nothing. But when I was in Cause of Affliction, we were way busier. That was a lot harder because I was the only one in the band who worked 6 days a week. So we'd be playing a Friday night show, get home at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I would have work at 8 o'clock the next day. It sucked. Or even, you spend your whole weekends literally just playing shows. Like, we literally went 4 years probably playing every single weekend. I lost a lot of friends during that time. Like, I mean, I didn't lose them, but I didn't have them to hang out with because the band was number one. That was hard to balance your friends, your work. You're always just stressed. And then when you finally have a day off, you just kind of want to sit in your room and be in silence, but I loved it too. It's not like the band was a burden. I looked forward to playing shows, and I looked forward to practicing. Like, I loved it, so. Being a local metal band specifically is definitely difficult because the metal scene is very, I don't want to say small, but it's kind of the same scene. I've been seeing the same people in the metal scene for ever, and I'm sure it's that way for other local genres as well. But it's just, there's not a lot of venues. I think if we had more all ages venues, I definitely think that would be a huge help because that's when you get your new fans. We play to, no offense, but a lot of people who are going to the bar to get drunk and do their thing, and we're kind of background music sometimes. And then if somebody hears something they like, then maybe we gain a new fan or two. Whereas if we played an all ages show, those kids are there just for the music. They're the ones who buy more merch. They're the ones who buy CDs. And they're the ones who are looking for new music. So the lack of all ages venues and venues in general is definitely a huge downfall to being in a local, specifically our local music scene, especially now. It sucks. F that's for sure. I think I understand where they're coming from because they want to guarantee as well. They want to bring people there, but I also think it's fucked up if you don't give us a part of that. Like, okay, I expect they want us to sell 20 tickets at $10 a pop. Got it. You want us to bring 20 people there. It's not worth it for you. I understand that. But on their end, they should also be promoting the show like crazy and getting our name out there too. It should be a 50-50 balance. So it should be pay to play, but we're getting something out of the deal. I think that will make it a little more fair. But that's also for bigger shows, so I understand there's more needed to be paid into it. But for like bar shows, if you had to do that's ridiculous because that's not our. I mean, it's our job to bring people there, but it's also the bar's job to bring people there too. So to make us pay, like, I don't know, I can't think of an example right now, but it makes no sense for us to pay to play in someone else's bar when we're bringing their bar entertainment, we're bringing more people into their bar, we're bringing them more food money, more beer money, you know what I mean? So, yeah, fuck pay to play, there you go. I'm assuming that means as a musician. If you're talking about it a person in general, I could go with a million things to say. Negative feedback. I mean, I guess a big thing for me specifically as a female musician, I tend to get negative feedback just because I am a female. So it's like, oh, you're good for a girl drummer, and then like I'm kind of like, well, fuck you, I'm a good drummer, and then that pisses me off because it makes me want to like be a better. I mean, I always want to be a better drummer anyways, but I'm just like, I can play better than that guy over there. He's, you know, like, no offense to him, but he's a shitty drummer. I know I'm a better drummer. It doesn't matter if I have tits or not. I guess also negative. I don't really get too much negative feedback. I mean, a couple times I've posted stuff on YouTube with my old band, and you know, people would make comments like, same thing. It's all like kind of sexist stuff, like, oh, she's cute, okay drummer, stick twirls are unnecessary. I still remember that comment to this day. It's just like, all right, like, yeah, maybe the stick twirls are unnecessary, but like, you go to a show to see an act, you know. I'm trying to be a good drummer, but also an entertainer. You know, I don't want to go to a show and see some guy just staring off into space the whole time. I want to see you, you know, doing something. Like I said, I really haven't gotten much negative feedback. I've gotten criticism and advice on, you know, how to tighten up and how to make myself sound better, but as far as negative feedback, I haven't really gotten people be complete dicks to me besides the sexist comments. Those are the worst ones I get, is sexist stuff, yeah. There's just been so much, not only with children, but old people, like elderly people, and just people in general, how good music is for just any kind of healing and brain progress, and, you know, just making people smarter and better and happier, and you know what I mean? Like, there's so many studies saying that. So why would, out of all the stupid things, why would you cut out music instead of algebra? I don't think I've ever used algebra a day in my life. You know, I think music is up there with learning how to, you know, mortgage your house or stuff like that, like real world stuff. And I just think giving children a creative outlet is something that they need to do to develop themselves as an adult even. You know what I mean? If you're, you know, not creative as a kid, how, you know, you don't you know who you are as an adult, because you just, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with that one, but how many more questions you got in there? 87?
Probably about another 10.
Oh gosh. All right, let's keep going.
All right.
Well, obviously I want them to think we're rocking and we sound good and they have a good time when they come see us. I want them to see us not only as musicians, but as good people too, and, you know, people they'd like to hang out with, you know, after the show or before the show or just on the weekends.
Facts.
That's facts right there. You know, I want to feel like we're personable. I want them to, I guess if you're younger, I guess if you're older too, just be inspired by some of the stuff we write. I want people to, I don't know, just dig it and vibe with it, bro. The Duchess of Thunder. Actually, a guy who owned a music shop, I cannot remember his name, but it was in Scranton. I went in there the one day and I was buying one of my practice kits, and that's what he just called me. He called me the Duchess of Thunder when I would come in there, and kind of just, I loved it, and then it stuck with me. And then Metal Mandy I'm called too, but that's more from, even before I was a musician, I had that name from doing, I was a DJ at the college radio, so. Oh boy, I have a lot of, I try to listen on Spotify. I try to like listen to a bunch of different stuff all the time. I do the new release radar, and I try to just randomly put stuff on. I've been on a huge Fit for an Autopsy kick. I mean, I've liked them for a while, but I've been just listening to them nonstop. Sleep Token, they're kind of not really your typical metal, but they're different, and I like that. There's power behind it, there's feeling behind it, there's emotion behind it. So anything that kind of has emotion behind it is what I'm kind of into right now. My favorite. Going on the Fit for an Autopsy thing, Napalm Dreams, I've been listening to on repeat for a while now. I don't know. I guess that would be my favorite one at the moment, but I don't. It's hard to think. It's hard to think because it depends when I'm mood for at the moment too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we put on a good live show. I think we look like we're having fun together. I think we are good with getting the crowd involved, and I think we're good with hanging out with people and making them feel like they're part of the show with us. I feel like we are heavy but not too heavy, so I feel like we can get people's heads kind of banging, but also like not leave the bar because we're so loud and aggressive, you know what I mean? So I feel like we're middle of the road there. I think we're just a good, solid, all around, fun time, good band, you know? I mean, I always think there's room for improvement, of course, but I think we're a pretty fun band to be around, and we're not total shit, you know? I don't think we'd sound like complete garbage. I definitely get more attention as a female. I'm not going to try to lie and say I don't. I definitely am the one that people come up to after the shows or before the shows and talk to more. And it's 50-50. I have girls come up to me and guys come up to me. And honestly, it means more to me when a girl or like a woman comes up to me and says, I love what you do. I wish I did that. Or, hey, my daughter wants to be a girl drummer, or, just a drummer or whatever. And that means a lot to me because that means I'm an inspiration and I'm cool. Whereas if a guy comes up to me and it's like, oh, you're hot, you know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between telling me I'm hot, which of course it always feels good when somebody tells you you're hot, but sometimes it's a pain in the ass when you're looked at as kind of like a novelty, I guess. I'd rather be looked at as a good drummer, or like I said, the only people that really say you're good for a girl is guys. I don't really have women ever say that to me, and it's hard to be in a male dominated genre, but also it gives me that little bit more of an edge too, because I know how much more competition I have to go up against men instead of women, and there's a lot more female drummers right now too, which is awesome, and it's cool. I keep seeing more and more of them on YouTube, and it's especially for an instrument that is, when I say I'm in a band, people are like, oh, what do you play? I'm like, take a guess. They say singer, bassist, keyboardist, guitar. They say everything except for the drums. So when I say, no, I'm the drummer, they're like, oh, really? So it's considered a male type instrument as well, which also kind of sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck, but it's not typically something people would expect females to play. So it's just there's always the gender thing is always going to be on it, you know what I mean? And it is what it is. It doesn't bother me that much, but once in a while it's annoying. The biggest thing is, you're a great drummer for a girl. Like, all right, I get it. Same thing. It's just annoying. Like, why do you need to add that for a girl in there? Like, you took a compliment and turned it into, it's dumbing me down and saying because I'm a girl I can't be as good as a guy. Like, that's what it feels like. Just say like, you're a great drummer. Even if you think in your head you're a great drummer for a girl, I get it. Like, I'm not like, this isn't it's co-ed. It's not like I'm playing women's basketball versus men's basketball. Like, they're not two separate entities. It's just the metal genre. Like, so I'm playing with the guys. So like, you don't have to put me in my own class because I'm not in my own class. I'm still a drummer. It doesn't matter if I have tits or a dick. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's awesome. And I'll be honest, I do get jealous sometimes. Like, I'll see, these female drummers who are getting, 300,000 million views on YouTube, and it sucks, as I'm like, I wish I can get to that level. I mean, I guess partially it's my own fault for not putting myself out there more, but there's a lot of really, really good female musicians get out there, specifically drummers. I don't really watch the guitar players as much because that's not really my thing, but I do watch female drummers out there a lot, and there are some amazing female drummers, but then there's also female drummers who play the sex card way too hard, and they're playing with literally like lingerie on, and I get it, sex sells, but like I don't know, you're taking away from what you're doing and putting your tits in. Like, you're making that gender thing more difficult for the girls who do take it seriously, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, I wear, I don't wear slutty clothes when I play, but I definitely, like, pop the boobs out a little bit more and stuff like that, but I don't use that as a thing to make myself known as a drummer. I just do it because I like to dress up that way, whereas a lot of these girls now I feel like are just, I don't know. Call me jealous if you will. Oh boy, that's hard. I've been to so many concerts, I can't even tell you. I've literally seeing Gojira for the first time last year was probably one of the highlights of my life. I've always wanted to see Gojira. Mario is one of my favorite drummers of all time. I literally cried. I literally was so happy seeing them. I literally cried. It was the first concert I ever cried at because they were so good. I used to go to the New England Metal Festival in Massachusetts every year I went there probably 4 or 5 years. It was a 3-day metal festival. That was always a good time. I saw so many awesome bands, and you got to stay in the hotel with your bunch of friends. It was a great time. I like a lot of intimate shows though. Festivals and big shows are great, but I'm a basement or like a small venue type person where I can be there with the, like Reverb. I saw Bleeding Through there a couple years ago. That was actually a great show too. I met the singer Bleeding Through, and I've been friends. I've been a fan of them forever, and they were like right there in front of me. Those are my favorite types of shows, and that's what I love about metal too. I feel like you can get those shows more than you can with other genres. So. I just hope to be a rock star in 10 years. There we go.